there, and welcome to Beyond the Blast Doors. This is episode 4. It is June 9th while we're recording this cast, and we're super excited because we have our in-between set. This isn't the new set, but it's going to be the in-betweener while we get ready to set up the studio. We have a full panel today, and it's really exciting. So we're going to introduce the new faces.
Who are you people?
And then, yeah, this is actually weird because Jesse's been on the show and Nick's been on the show, and these two have never been in the same room together. So this is really cool. So first off, the new guy on the block is David Gilbert. David, how are we feeling today, man?
Super fantastic. Beautiful day.
Are you excited to be here?
Can we film this outside?
I don't know if we could take it outside. There's
Dave
a lot of
would
sound
just be a
interference.
pool of sweat, I think, by the end of that.
Yeah,
so.
I perspire a lot.
we need a sweat gauge, I think.
Yes,
Jesse,
I think so.
Mando Fury, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm a little worn out. It's been a busy week at work, but otherwise pretty good, and I'm excited for the weekend.
Gotta go ahead and give you a shout out because we have, we have his lightsaber hilt there on the front of the table. We have a couple blasters roaming around. Where did we put
Somewhere
those?
they're
They're somewhere around here.
Yeah, we'll get them later.
Oh my gosh,
It's an interactive set. It's crazy.
It's gonna be fun. And then of course, Nick Stewart. How are we doing, man?
I am fantastic.
All right.
David, thank you
I'm just
for
so-
introducing me.
This is just great. It's hard to it's weird to look across the table and see multiple people.
I know. This is definitely different. We've got
We're growing.
a full
Four
cast.
episodes. Yeah, 4 episodes in, and we're growing, and we've got a lot to talk about. So let's go ahead and jump into that first segment. Real Talk. It's a segment where we talk about everything movie related. This could be about the Skywalker saga. This could be the standalone films. That god awful Clone Wars animated film that came out in 2008.
It wasn't that bad.
It was garbage. And we're going to start with talking about the creator of Clone Wars, ironically enough, right? Dave Filoni confirms that Ahsoka Tano is not the wolf in the Season 4 trailer. Dave had a birthday this past week, and on his Twitter, he unveiled a drawing. And it was Ahsoka, it was an owl, and it was the wolf. And if you're watching this cast, you see the image on your screen right now that Dave has written notes. This is a wolf. This is an owl. This is not a wolf. Arrow pointing at Ahsoka. So, Jesse, let's start with you, man. And tell me, you see this image. You know that he releases this on his birthday, kind of a gift to the fans. What do you think?
Well, it's under a lot of speculation right now because, we've seen Dave wear the Ahsoka Lives t-shirt. So,
I need
just...
that.
It is, isn't it? It's frustrating, isn't it? I'm kind of glad for this image because when I started hearing all these rumors, well, she's going to be like a Force animal. I'm like, I don't want that. Please don't.
There's two things.
Don't hurt me.
If there's one thing I don't want in Star Wars, it's reincarnation. I have no need for that. I don't need Rey to be reincarnated Anakin. Don't need that.
I'm okay with a Force ghost, but let's
That's the
skip.
farthest,
Yeah, let's not have them be animals.
So you're happy Ahsoka's not the wolf.
I'm happy with that, but Dave also didn't specify that she was not the owl either. So
always the theorist with you.
I know. I pay attention to these little details, but at the same time, I love Dave in general because he's a phenomenal storyteller. I love the Clone Wars. I'm loving Rebels.
Yeah.
So
it's a great series. David, you're jumping into that Rebels world right now.
I haven't gotten that far yet.
You're still in Clone Wars.
I'm like episode 10 of Clone Wars. That was like last weekend's project. Didn't get very far. Well,
you had like 150 episodes to crank out in like 3 days.
You didn't give me good guidance, David. So I started with the awful 2008 movie like 2 months ago, and then it took you like another 2 months to convince me to go rewatch the show because of this garbage that he had me start out with. So
I'm not a Jedi Master yet, man. I'm still a knight. I got a
Got
lot to
blaster in
learn.
my mouth.
it's growing on me.
Yeah.
I've seen her character a few times in a few episodes. She seems kind of awesome, and I'm told she gets even more awesome. So I have hope, and I have no idea what animals we're talking about, but we're excited.
Should we have a spoiler tag here?
Spoiler.
We should throw a spoiler tag up. We'll throw the spoiler up.
we're gonna get
earplugs
David
for
here.
me for
Yeah, we're gonna get earplugs for you.
This is so funny. You're going to love it when she goes gray, which kind of has its own connotation. Anyways, Nick, you see this image. What do you think about Ahsoka not being the wolf?
Well, she's not dead, so I already knew that. Like, let's be real. She's a living being, because she's not dead. That's all I got to say, that she's not dead.
Let's just go ahead and address this now. Do you think that we will see her alive in Season 4, or do you think they pull the ultimate Star Wars move and they leave it unanswered and they don't address it for a while, and we find out ultimately in a novel?
You got to do a spin-off. I feel like if they're going to do anything, because that's the Star Wars way of doing things, spin it off, put onto the next animated thing or something like that. I don't know. I would love to see her in some capacity in the somewhere in the the finale, but I don't know. I'm not feeling it. They've already ignored her for this long, let that whole Vader scene just not be mentioned at all. They're going to continue that going.
If I could have it my way, I would love to see her die at the hands of Darth Vader. Yeah. Go back to that season 2 finale, but this time Vader follows through and takes
Earmuffs,
her out.
David.
That is the best way to do it. Oh, you'll get there eventually. Let's go on to the next topic in this segment of Real Talk. We're talking about Colin Trevorrow. He is the director of Episode 9, and he recently did an interview with CinemaBlend where he was talking about how they've had to reassess how to go about Episode 9 with the death of Carrie Fisher and the role that Princess Leia or General Leia was going to play. We knew it was going to be a big role. We've heard that a lot of times. What I loved hearing about in this segment was he was talking about how it will be done with dignity, it will be done with class, it will be done with love. You know, you guys have read this story. David, let's start with you. Are you concerned about Episode 9, or are you a little bit more reassured now knowing that no matter what, the director is going to do it tastefully for the fans?
I have to put my trust in the Disney machine. As we've gone through the last several months, we've learned that a lot of the storyline is not pre-scripted. It's not like a Marvel verse where they're taking it and they're scripting it phase at a time. Each director's had their entire flexibility. In fact, the article that I was looking at the other day was talking about how they don't even have like a guideline for what they want the directors to do.
Yeah.
So when Trevorrow got his hands on this movie, the only thing he was bound to was whatever happened in the first movie, minus the scar, because, you know, it was in a bad
he
location.
moved it over. But let's get back to, like, are you comfortable with how he's going to handle
Yes, I
Leia?
have faith. I have faith that he's going to do it well. He says that he wants to do it with the soul that she needs to have in there.
Mm-hmm.
Do it with respect. Do it tastefully. I hope they don't recast. I hope they don't CGI. I just want to see them kind of phase it out.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up, Nick. You know, what are your thoughts? I mean, how do you do this tastefully with Episode 9? Do you CG her, or do you kill her off screen?
Part of me, and I'm going to just say this, kind of just thrown out there, what if they're throwing everybody for a loop here, and she actually dies in 8, and they're just like, and that's like the ultimate, like, sudden death? I don't think that's going to happen, but what if? Everyone would, like, no one would expect it. And it would be crazy.
Would this shock you that I actually have the same mindset
Really?
as Nick?
It'd be crazy.
Because I kind of feel the same way. I absolutely, like, while I loved what they did with Rogue One, you know, that was understandable, but this is somebody's basically final film, and I think to put them in so soon really doesn't, it doesn't respect Carrie. In many ways, so I would prefer like even like an extra scene where maybe the First Order attacks the Resistance and she's a casualty. It is off screen, or maybe you see like the flagship or something get, you know, just absolutely destroyed. You know, it's unfortunate because they had further plans for you know, Princess Leia, but what can they do now?
Right.
You
Well,
know?
I think we can all agree on that. No matter what they've decided to do, we're really excited to see how they pay tribute to Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, that's what they said is we're going to honor not just General, but our princess. We're going to treat her right.
Could be one of the most probably emotional scenes probably for anybody ever watching. Like, I mean, especially that's been with the series for that long, could be one of the most emotional like moments in cinema.
It's going to have a lot
Yeah.
of potential because some of the fans feel robbed that they didn't get the original trio together in that Episode 7. So let's jump on to the next topic, actually, and we're going to be on the topic of The Last Jedi. It comes out this December, and we have more leaked images. Either this is being done intentionally, or this movie is just not being well protected compared to The Force Awakens. I felt we weren't getting anything out of that set, but nonetheless, we have a couple of new images. We have a first look at a new stormtrooper. We have a more detailed image as well of the First Order Heavy Assault Walker. And let's start with that new trooper. Nick, let's start with you. The trooper has that red stripe on the side of his face, and he's carrying what looks like an axe. Do we need stormtroopers with melee weapons?
All this is doing is just making more products to sell. Because now it's just another thing that people want to buy, another thing for people to collect. It's just getting out of hand. And I'm done with it. I'm done with adding all these new different clone troopers. I'm done with it.
You know what I'm frustrated at the most is
But
they're
they're
so
not
bad
clones.
with a blaster. Am I supposed to believe that stormtroopers are more effective with axes and batons?
Well, you saw the one in Episode 7 fighting
Finn.
Finn,
It
right?
was bad.
And like, he's popping that thing out. He doesn't know what he's doing.
I think we'll just at some point have to go into we'll have to examine trooper vision because there's actually a lot out there to explain
the purpose of it.
The purpose, the why that the stormtroopers aren't very accurate. But I'd also like to know. I mean, the First Order troopers are. They seem to be more, better trained.
I just feel like if you got a stormtrooper with a blaster and you got a stormtrooper with a sniper rifle, and then you got a stormtrooper that can throw fire on something, what more do you need? I don't know. David, do you have any thoughts on this guy?
I'm not a big fan of it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a purist. I like my traditional, uniformity that comes with the stormtrooper order. So I can't say I'm on board.
All right, well, we have the other image, too, that Heavy Assault Walker. And Jesse, I want to start with you on this. And we are kind of running out of time on this one, so we got to move fast. But we talked about the Lego Walker set that got leaked a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You see this image. It's a little bit more detailed. What do you think about it?
Honestly, at first glance, I mean, it seems bulkier, but in terms of height, I don't think it's taller than an AT-AT. I would definitely, like I said, it seems like more muscle. Definitely seems more armed. There's notably a cannon coming out of the back half.
Right above the head of the walker. And it is important to note that this thing looks like a gorilla. If you're able
it's like a camel.
Yeah, if you're watching this right now, you're looking at that image. We'll throw it back up there to make sure that it's up there. But the front leg joints are significantly higher up. And the feet of those front arms, the bottoms look like they kind of go back behind. It almost looks like an ape. You know when a monkey walks on its hands, his hands are down flat. It kind of looks it looks like that. David, are you excited about this design?
I don't know. I mean, we'll see how they kind of play it out. I mean, if it's just deployed to kind of deal with those pesky tow cables, then,
I did notice on the legs there seems to be some rugged, looks like blades on the bottom of the legs. So that might be a response to that. Nick, do you have anything about this?
Just another thing for people to buy. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Can you tell that Nick is just not a fan of this fan fiction? Oh my gosh! All right, cool. So let's go throw it to the next topic. All right, so this story is thanks to we're gonna have to thank Twitter for this next topic because what happened was there was a fan that reached out to Rian Johnson, the director of The Last Jedi, and he says that he had some concerns learning about the mass freedom that the directors have had with the films. And this is something that David actually touched on earlier in the show. Yeah. And he's like, hey, what do you mean that you have this whole freedom? There's not an outline for the film? Rian Johnson was very honest on Twitter. He said, yeah, when I walked on, I could do whatever I wanted. They went as far as to say that they have not determined Snoke's reveal. They don't even have Rey's parentage locked in yet. Pablo Hidalgo, who's the keeper of the Star Wars canon, joined the conversation as well and was like, hey, nothing to be worried about because that's how the last two trilogies were. I'm going to disagree with that, and I'm going to tell you why in just a second. But let's start with you, Jesse. You see this Twitter conversation. What do you think? Are you concerned about there not really being a structure for this new trilogy?
There's pros and cons to it. Especially, it kind of paid off with Carrie Fisher's death.
I was about to say that.
Because if it was completely written in stone, I mean, just the amount of work needed to to adjust that and make the adjustments. They have a lot of work ahead of them anyway from what we've already read and heard.
Pablo Hidalgo did come out on Twitter and say the fact that it's not really officially canon until it hits the movie screen.
Yeah, and I have to kind of agree with you too, Dave, because I do feel like that the prequels and the original trilogy were a little bit more set in stone. They had more of a layout going, and everything.
Well, because Lucas had that, he had the Star Wars story, and then he just took that first chunk and he made that Star Wars that we got in '77.
Especially with the original, trilogy, because that first film, what most people don't realize, the reason they chose Episode 4 to be the first film was because if it flopped in the theater, that was it.
Right.
But
then for Empire Strikes Back was the middle chunk. Return of the Jedi was that last chunk, and he didn't have all the details. We know that he didn't know that Luke and Leia were siblings until he got to Empire, but he kind of knew where it was going.
Yeah, it's just maybe that's what Pablo was trying to suggest, that yes, we have this basic outline, but there's certain things that we're leaving open in case we need to change it.
Nick, does this scare you?
I like it from the aspect of it's impossible to leak something that hasn't been set in stone.
Yeah.
So with there being no set script, there's nothing possible to leak. It's almost impossible to know what's coming, and that's what I really like about it.
Very cool. And I want to make sure that we mention that this story and the one before was thanks to StarWarsNewsNet.com. They are the best aggregator of Star Wars content online, and we definitely want to thank them for their hard work to make it a lot easier for us to find these stories. David, you hear that Rian Johnson had complete freedom. What do you think?
I love it. Let's be honest. Who are the creative people when it comes to making a movie? It's going to be the director. It's going to be the set designers. It's going to be the costume designers. It's not going to be the people sitting in the suits in the room figuring out the budget. So the more we can take the creative control away from the boardroom and give it to the people who are actually creative, I think it's beautiful.
A lot of times, too, it's the music people that determine how the flow of things go, because they have an idea for a score, and they're like, okay, someone needs to die here. I mean, that's kind of that's actually, if you going back to Halo, which is kind of what I'm real familiar with. Sergeant Johnson, one of the main characters, he dies in Halo 3. That was because the person making the music, Marty O'Donnell, was like, I need a major character to die here. And that's what led to his death. So a lot of times the music people can kind of dictate how things go as well.
Do we know if Williams is going to score the next
Yeah,
one?
he's actually almost done with it. He actually got the...
How old is that dude?
He's in his late 80s. He's almost about to turn 90. But he got access to the rough edit, I believe, going back to February. But it's interesting because he's actually composing the score. This is a complete tangent, but he's composing the score, and then they're going to put it to the film. Ryan wants to edit to his music, which is the first time they've done with this with the saga film. Usually it's the finished product, and then Williams just scores to that.
That's kind of what it sounds like the Halo kind of did, make the music and then kind of go from there.
I'm excited just based on that trailer that we've seen already, or that teaser that we've gotten at Celebration. That those last 7 chords at the end of that thing is just daunting. I love it. I think my last thought on this would be that if we don't know Snoke's identity, because that was one of the things that they did mention, we don't know. To me, that gives me hope that maybe that Plagueis theory can come back to the forefront, and if not, maybe at the very least, Snoke could be a Sith or be tied to that. I want the Sith in this new trilogy.
It's got to come full circle. It's got to come full circle.
It really needs. I don't know if it needs to. That's just what I want, and it sounds like that's what we all want. Let's jump into that next topic. We are moving at light speed here in Real Talk. And this next topic comes from the Vanity Fair story that came out a few weeks ago. It was talking about Mark Hamill, and he was trying to set up a lunch date with Adam Driver. And this is, a couple days. We went to talk about the story last week. Things didn't happen. We have it now. But Mark got rejected by Adam Driver. Adam Driver got the invitation to have lunch because Mark's saying, we're technically uncle and nephew, and we're supposed to have this relationship, and maybe we should have lunch, kind of talk about where we feel our characters are from. And Adam Driver just said no because he wants it to feel natural that these two people haven't seen each other in some time, and there is some tension there. So, Nick, I want to start with you on this. How do you feel about that approach? I mean, Mark's being kind, but at the same time, Adam is trying to. It sounds almost like method acting. I don't want to come around you right now.
The best kind of acting is, what's natural. I think that's definitely is a very legitimate claim. I'm hoping no one's taking it as like a personal thing. I feel like he had to come out and say something because otherwise people would start insinuating things. He probably had to think of something. Maybe his publicist had to think of that. But either way, if it is true, I think it's a brilliant way of going about it. I mean, if I haven't seen you in, 3 weeks, and the way that we have a conversation is going to be different, and I'm not trying to act or anything like that, so...
Yeah, I can roll that.
I'm on the flip side. It's lunch. Go to Taco Bell. Take a half an hour. That's it. If you're a good enough actor, you can act your way through it, ignoring lunch.
Jesse, what do you think?
I kind of have mixed feelings about it. I'm kind of like I'm with David here on that concept where you should be, if you're that skilled of an actor, you should be able to break from the character and then still reconnect with it. At the same time, though, I mean, Adam Driver really hasn't, in my mind, been in too many films. So
he's a YouTube guy, isn't he? Right?
Well,
he was a Marine that went back to theatrical acting. His preference is stage performance.
Okay.
It's one of those things where it could be an experience thing. Mark, he has it, where he's cool with it. But maybe Adam really does need that extra space to maintain that intensity and everything. And say what you want about the character in Force Awakens, but there was definitely a lot of anger and a lot of hatred towards Han Solo from Kylo Ren. And if he used the same,
approach.
in that movie, you're going to get the same effect when it comes to Kylo and Luke.
I can totally dig that. Yeah.
So he takes it seriously. I mean, the good thing is here, he's taking his role seriously.
Well,
too,
that's what
which
we want
is
to hear.
Awesome, right?
I would say this. If I'm looking for acting advice, I don't know if I'm going to Mark Hamill, just because I think what has made him isn't necessarily his on-screen performance, but it's his voice acting.
Yes.
But he still understands how you create and develop a character. If you're watching this by chance and you wanted to invite me out for lunch, I'd go to Taco Bell with you.
We'll all go to
I'm
lunch.
fine with it.
I'll go somewhere a little classier.
I would never turn you down for lunch. I would never turn down Mark Hamill for lunch.
We'll buy.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, if we're doing Taco Bell, especially,
just
that's in my budget.
Just
yeah.
come here. Well, yeah, we got
Come
2
to-
Taco Bells.
Our last topic for Real Talk is coming to us.
3 McDonald's.
I know, right? Oh, yeah. Here in
5
Quincy, Illinois.
Subways. Woo!
Laurie Goode. Do you guys know who this is? Laurie is the guy who played the stormtrooper in A New Hope, the 77 film where we witnessed a blind stormtrooper run into a blast door. And it's actually one of the influences of the name of this podcast. The reason why I wouldn't want to call it Beyond the Blast Doors was because it's like, well, you got to just get beyond it, you know? And he was talking in the story of how that happened. It turns out he had a bit of the runs, and he was trying to run back on set from using the bathroom. So, David, you hear this story, and it's actually real because the Hollywood Reporter reported it. They did the interview. What do you think about it?
It's hysterical. It's the small things that really make this more than just 2 hours of a movie. It really is the stories behind it, and I love it. I mean, you gotta go.
Jesse, in the special editions, and I think this starts, I want to say it started with the 99 special edition. Lucas put in a clunk sound effect
Yes.
so that we actually hear that the helmet hit the blast door, because in the original cut, I don't think anybody noticed it until fans started pointing it out with the internet. What do you think about his comments in the story? Laurie seems to really enjoy it.
This is the thing, though, is there's actually still some debate whether he is that actor or not. There was another actor claiming for this. It is comical in
The
the sense
most
that
coveted spot.
it's like, we're going to fight over who ran into the blast door.
There's 2 stormtroopers we care about, Traitor and the guy who bonked his head.
So, no, but I mean, you're right, though. I mean, I remember watching the original films, with my old VHS tapes, and then the special edition came out, and yes, they added the extra clunk in there. But the funny thing is, I mean, I noticed it. That was one of the first things I noticed as a kid. I was like, that stormtrooper just hit his head on the door, and they kind of ran with it. I mean, they had Django, bonk his head on Slave One as he was getting on there, and I think they were alluding to, well, that's how the dent got into the helmet. Which, if you follow Clone Wars, that's changed now.
Yep.
But it's nice hearing these side stories from the side roles, because, I mean, yes, we have got these main characters, but there's so many other people who made these films and worked on these films, and they have to have credit at some point.
Absolutely. Not a bad way to cement yourself in the Star Wars lore, right, Nick?
Yep. I mean, I'm like 6.5 feet, and so I've frequently hit my head on things because I'm an idiot and very clumsy. So I feel him. I remember watching this movie way back in the day, and my friend pointing it out to me. We were watching it on VHS. He'd rewind, what rewinding was back in the day. That was awful.
All right, that's what I really do enjoy it because it's bringing these actors with the smaller roles back into the forefront. We got to actually hear from him at Star Wars Celebration, and I think anytime they can bring an actor back, that's always a good thing. Fans always appreciate that. That's going to do it for Real Talk. Let's jump in now to our next segment, Panels, Pages, and Pixels. Our first topic of this segment is going to be the comic that was our most anticipated for the summer, and it is now my favorite comic of the year right now, Darth Vader #1. It is an incredible book. It's actually on our set right now. It is a beautiful story.
Is this not it?
No, you're looking at that's the original Darth Vader from a couple years ago.
That's
But
why it's all nice, huh?
Charles Soule is the guy who wrote this comic.
Interactive set.
Yeah, it's an
Beautiful.
interactive set. He wrote this, and Charles did a really tremendous job writing this story, and we're not going to give away what happens in that comic on this show. We're going to do a comic book breakdown of it, and we're going to give you our reaction to it later this weekend. But as far as this book, I know, David, you've actually had a chance to read this, and it starts almost at the very end of Revenge of the Sith. How do you feel it took off after that moment?
I loved it. I read it 3 times. The passion that we get out of the new Darth Vader, the ruthless caring is the way I'm going to phrase it, that we get out of Palpatine. The art's phenomenal. I have no patience, David, so when I read comics, and I read quite a few, I wait until I can get like a trade of them and just be able to fly through a whole bunch at once. So it's going to be a challenge for me to wait until next month to see how the story continues.
And have you been able to take a look at this yet, Jesse?
Unfortunately, I have not. Like I'm thinking it's probably something I need to really catch up on. This is probably the one part in my knowledge of the universe that is truly lacking at this point.
I know that Nick is looking at it right now, so I'm not going to ask him. So I do want to give a couple of thoughts on
Spoiler,
this
I
book.
haven't actually read it.
What I liked about this is it starts in the medical chamber where Vader has just been completed. He has all the cybernetics on him, and he loses control. And there's a moment that he has where he loses control with the Emperor. And we kind of learn that their relationship almost immediately as master and, we'll say, apprentice is torture. I think that's the best word to describe that relationship. And David, you get that reference, right?
Can you even really blame him? Because he was hoping, and to use your words from the other day, he was really hoping to get Anakin Skywalker. And he gets a cyborg.
Yeah. So, I mean, Palpatine really lets him have it. There's a little Force lightning. I'll say that much. But what I love about this is we get a lot of really good insight into the relationship between those two. If you're a fan of the canon novels, Lords of the Sith was a book that allowed us insight into that relationship. And like you mentioned, David, there is a grudge that Palpatine holds over Anakin because he looks at Anakin as a failure. How could you not take down Obi-Wan Kenobi on the lava planet of Mustafar? I think it's fantastic. I was actually having a Twitter conversation with Charles Soule yesterday, and he's a super nice guy, very responsive to fans. So if you have any thoughts, hit him up. He'll respond. But I just had to say thank you because this is a great launch into that new wave of Star Wars comics. This is the Darth Vader comic right here. I'm holding a graded version. This was the Gillen run from a couple of years ago that started, and it was a fantastic comic book. But this new run, this new Darth Vader comic, is exactly what Charles Soule said it would be. It's going to be year one. And we can tell after the first issue, and, you know, David, you mentioned it because you read it 3 times, that art is fantastic.
And it really starts right where the movie leaves off in that scene.
It's really good. Check it out if you haven't. Go support your local comic book shop and pick up this copy. The second issue comes out in July. I love how Nick is still reading this. Let's jump to, he's reading the comic as we're doing. No, it's fine. Enjoy yourself, Nick. The next topic of our segment here is new Star Wars Legos.
Hype.
A couple weeks ago, Jesse and I got really nerdy about some leaked images.
Oh, we did.
But these are some pictures that have actually been posted on the shop.lego.com website. I'm just going to list them off real quick. We're going to possibly get it's not possibly. These are going to be available. Jedi Starfighter from Attack of the Clones with the hyperdrive ring. Darth Vader's transformation set, where it's that medical room that we were talking about where Anakin becomes Vader in the suit. We get that set. We also get a Republic fighter tank, which is the from the Clone Wars, and then a couple of battle packs, a couple First Order packs. And Nick, can you hold up? Actually, you got the Republic
Vanna
tank.
White.
Yeah, you're Vanna White. Why was that the set of all these that you picked up on your impromptu trip to Disney World?
I love, just quick trip to Florida. Actually was there for like less than 24 hours. I like it because 1, it was super cheap.
Right.
It was on the lower price of things. 2, it was able to fit in my carry-on for my airplane. And 3, it has
Ayla Secura,
who was my favorite to play in Star Wars Battlefront 2. Because 1, she's blue, and that's awesome. And 2, she had 2 lightsabers, which she does not have in this. So points off. Lego.
Blue Lives Matter.
All she has is the blue one.
David, you're looking at you've seen the images of these sets. You know, you're not a big Lego collector, but is there one of these that really excites you?
They all excite me. I mean, the reason why I'm not a big Lego collector is simply because they're expensive, and I work nonprofit, which is wholeheartedly rewarding. But by the same token, that doesn't mean I'm going to
pay me enough.
Doesn't mean I'm going to go drop $80-100 on a big kit, on a weekly basis.
Mm-hmm.
So all of them I think are exciting. I think Lego's doing an excellent job of throwing out some new stuff and taking some old sets that were good but maybe had some opportunity for growth there in scale or in design, and they've been giving that a redo. So
yeah, man, Jesse, Nick is unboxing his set right now. I guess he's going to start building.
Yeah.
He's going to read the comic on the show, and now he's going to start building on the show. Jesse, what do you think about these sets?
I didn't know about the Jedi Starfighter one until the other day, and I was like, wow, that's actually kind of cool. Like how they managed to get the hyperdrive ring.
The hyperdrive ring.
The hyperdrive ring. So it was really kind of cool how because when I was a kid, Legos were like 10 times more simpler.
Yeah.
And cheaper.
They were.
I have insider information about all this, by the way. When I was there, I was in this is the day they came out, and I was at downtown Disney, like the Lego capital of the world, essentially. And I was going through trying to find these sets because I wanted to see them. They had a lot of them pre-built, but a lot of them were already gone because they sold out, I was told, within minutes.
Really?
Is what people told. One of them was the Starfighter set. That one sold apparently within the first 10 minutes they were open.
I'm looking at the three main sets in this wave are the Starfighter with the hyperdrive ring, the Darth Vader transformation, and then the Republic tank that Nick is trying to assemble right now.
I'm trying to be quiet opening it.
He's like the guy in the movie theater after everybody's already finished eating, and he's still trying to eat, crinkling the bag of candy and...
I just want to see my girl.
Well, this tank is probably my favorite of the three because, like David mentioned, sometimes what Lego will do is they'll release a model, and then 5 or 6 years later, they'll reintroduce it to the public, and it'll be hopefully better. Not all the time, but most of the time. This is smaller, more compact, fewer pieces. It is more affordable. The original one, I think, was around $50 to $60, but this one, $25. And it's more scale to minifigure. And for me, as a Lego collector, I mean, you see some of the sets behind me. If you're watching...
Interactive set.
Yes, the interactive set. I like it when it's more scale to the minifigs. That's really fun for me. And, I guess it was more fun as a kid because I was playing with the sets and that was more fun. The hyperdrive ring, I'm cool with, but it's not as good as the original. So this is one that, for me, backtracks. I like the Starfighter because, again, it's more compact. It's closer to that minifig scale. But the ring is it's not as accurate. The original set did allow the fighter to kind of come in and up and lock in. And I also believe that might have been that 2003 Clone Wars version where it had like the 6 engines on it, the 3 on each side. So that's just personal bias.
Does it have a stand with it?
Yeah, this is cool, though. It does have a stand on
I didn't know if that was like something they added to
it has the stand, so for display
cool.
it's awesome. But I think out of the three, the Vader transformation has to be the most popular one.
I hate to backtrack just for a brief second.
Go ahead.
My only complaint about the Starfighter is that it's not correct. The hyperdrive ring is not correct because in the movies the fighter docks.
That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. And this one he kind of like lands on top.
And it's on top.
It's very bulky in the middle.
It's just like it kind of makes me sad, but that's my little nerd rant there.
No, it's fine. We're all entitled to nerd rant. That's why we have this show. But we wanted to call it something different than that.
Nick, do you need me to make you some space over here or take
a
commercial break for
Yeah,
this?
do you want a box?
I want to open it, but I don't want to make obsessive amount of noise, so I'll hold off till we switch topics.
All right, that's fair enough. Let's go on to the next topic in this one. And I think that everyone is getting a little excited about this because on this weekend,
I'm a child.
there is going to be the first live stream of Battlefront 2. It is going to be the Battle of Theed. And first reaction to this news was great. Second reaction was they picked a prequel map. Third was it's okay. It's the Battle of Theed. And that's probably like one of the cooler maps. I think back to the original games. Theed was a pretty great map to play. Nick, I want to start with you because it's between you and Jesse as our gamers. Mm-hmm. But you are really excited about this announcement. It's coming out as part of E3. What should we be expecting with this live stream if we've never participated with one before?
It's definitely going to be on PC because PC Master Race. It's probably going to be. I'm hoping it's on PC. I don't know why it wouldn't be.
Most likely.
Yeah, you'll have. It'll be a massive. You'll have people on set. I think they did it before 2 years ago. They had everyone had their own PC on stage. So you're gonna have 64 people probably playing that, or maybe even more. I don't know what the limit is.
A lot of Twitch. It was like the top 40 Twitch gamers.
Yeah. Okay, that's figured. I figured they do that. That's the cool thing these days. Doing these, taking all the Twitch people to do it. It's definitely it's free marketing. Really, all I have to do is bring them there. I'm sure they're not paying them too much or anything, but I'm really excited. You're gonna obviously see probably a beta build, so it's not gonna be a finalized version. You might catch some random glitches that do happen with these kind of things, which are kind of fun.
Nick is actually going to help us out, and he's actually going to help us feed that live stream through our Facebook page. So
that's the plan, yeah.
We're going to be working on that, and we'll try and keep you updated on our Twitter account. And David, you played the first of this new Battlefront era. You pretty excited to see this footage?
I am. More so, I've heard lots of rumor that there's going to be a story mode, and I think
there will be a campaign.
Definitely what was missing in the first one, because
I ranted about that last time. So
I still love going and playing the new game, but I still love going back and playing the original and number 2, because of that story mode.
Jesse, you're pumped too. I can see over there. You're getting your seat, man. What's got you so excited?
When they announced that we were getting some, Clone War gameplay, I was, because for me, that's where it's at. Okay, I absolutely love it. If there's dedicated servers, I'm going to find one that's nothing but the Clone War maps, and that's where you'll find me in this game. But some things that this is kind of a smart move on their part, because as Nick mentioned, it is free marketing to some degree. I mean, my only complaint is I kind of know some of these people that kind of got invited, and I'm like, you didn't even play Battlefront. And I'm like 10 times better than you skill wise, but that's a whole other rant,
Always the humble man.
But it's just I'm excited because I could go for hours on the successes of the most recent Battlefront game and the failures of the recent Battlefront game. As David mentioned, the lack of a story mode campaign was very frustrating. Even John Boyega said, I love the game, but it would have been great to have a story mode to learn how to play the game.
But most likely, we won't actually be experiencing any of that campaign.
They'll probably keep that on the down low simply because it could potentially have some spoilers in relation to the film that's coming out in December. So I don't think you'll see any story mode at all. This will be strictly. They kind of did this with Battlefield 1, where it's strictly, the multiplayer and everything. And what's great about it is they went back to a class system, which we saw in the older Battlefront games, which is going to eliminate the arcadey feel of the most recent, addition to the franchise.
Only in 2017 is adding features that are already in the game considered an enhancement.
Well, sometimes going backward is sometimes the step, that we need. Direction. But
I will say this: if you haven't seen it on, I believe it was Twitter and Instagram, EA did release like a 5-second teaser, and it's the battle droids like emerging out of the MMTs.
And it looked beautiful.
It looked really, really great. As someone who doesn't game a whole lot, I pretty much only play Battlefront.
We will convert you, Dave.
You will be watching me a lot. You're gonna have a computer soon.
I know. I'm gonna convert from PlayStation, I think, to PC to appease the masses here. But I just can't believe how far the graphics have come. And to me, I was like, man, this almost looks like movie quality. So
yeah. I'm
really excited to see that footage. I'm really excited for that game to come out because I feel like we've got to play a 2-on-2 match at some point.
It's PC. We all 4 of us could play at the same time.
We'll have a special podcast LAN edition. We'll all set up computers and we'll play against each other while we do the podcast.
Wait, are you serious?
It's happening.
That's a great idea.
Oh, we can do
happening.
Is it just the 4 of us sitting in a room trash talking each other? Because I'd watch that.
Yeah, I'm down. Let's do it. All right, let's jump into our next segment because that is the last topic for panels, pages, and pixels. We're jumping now into Stash It or Blast It. So this is where we are going to be presented a topic of conversation, and then we will all give our feedback on what we think about said topic, and we'll decide if we stash it, we want to keep it for ourselves, or blast it into oblivion. And I think I have a feeling where this week's segment is going to go. Joel Edgerton, you guys know him? He's a really cool guy. He's the guy who played the young, handsome Owen Lars on the Attack of the Clones and in Revenge of the Sith. And it's interesting, he was doing a story this past week, and he was saying how he would love to reprise his role. In fact, he told Business Insider that... Aura Sakura just fell off my microphone. Thank you, Nick. Joel told Business Insider that he likes the idea of Uncle Owen. He's one of those guys who's probably done some super cool shit, but just never bragged about it. And, you guys, you hear this. Is Owen Lars doing super cool shit on his farm that we need to know about? I mean, I don't know if he's saying he needs a standalone film, but does he need a cameo? David, what do you think about this?
Unless we're getting, like, a Breaking Bad-esque, moisture farmer who's dealing in, like, moisture heroin or something. No, blast it. Get rid of it. What is it?
Well,
why?
I wouldn't even think about that. That'd be awesome. Go ahead.
Why? I mean, listen. Every character that they've introduced into this either gets killed right off the bat, or they have something to play in the story. And why can't we just have a grumpy domestic farmer as a character? I mean, grumpy domestic farmers have to do things too, and so do fun domestic farmers for that matter. But no, blast it.
Jesse, what do you think about this story, man?
Well, I think it would work better as maybe like a guide to moisture farming. I'm sorry.
They should do like an April Fool's Day video where it's like the next movie and showing him like farming.
Here's the thing: I'm not trying to discredit this actor for his role because, for what it's worth, he did play his part.
Yeah, he had 5 lines.
But he did them well.
He did. Yeah, well, I mean, just
we're talking about him
outside of the films.
Right.
I mean, he did raise Luke. Okay. Luke would not be the man that he is without
a disobedient, whiny brat. I don't know if he did a good job.
Well, moisture farming
I'm reading
stuff.
the Star Wars line right now of the comic books. He is a whiny brat.
Definitely, no, I don't think his character deserves any more time in the spotlight. Mainly because there's nothing left to observe after being disintegrated. So
maybe we go back and no, you know what it is? I bet it's a heist movie. Here it is. It's a heist movie, okay? And we actually go back in time and we find out how his dad lost his leg. Because he lost it to the Sand People, right? So we go back and they attack the village, right? And Joel Edgerton gets to escape with both legs, right? And that could be great. They were trying to steal the Sand People's gold or something.
You gotta recruit.
They're like the leprechauns of the galaxy.
You gotta get Harrison Ford in there then too for
the
running from the temple or something.
But overall, I'm going to go beyond blast it. I'm going to disintegrate this idea.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
He's got his own category now.
I have to, Dave, because it's just, to me, there's just not enough there to warrant, the return of this character in any capacity.
That's fair. Nick, it seems like everyone's kind of unanimous on this side. Do we already know where you stand?
I want the meth version of him. That'd be fun. See, now I'm going to be disappointed.
He comes on screen, he's just scratching everything, and he's rubbing his forearm.
No, he's not an addict. He's the one producing.
Oh,
the underground.
That has potential.
You haven't watched Breaking Bad, have you?
I have not.
Neither have I.
Okay, but you understand the premise,
right?
I think that would be that'd sell some people.
If we either get heroin growing farmer, or if we get the heist film.
They call it moisture farmer, Dave.
Whatever. The point being is, if we get one of those two, I would keep it. But this, I have to blast it. Although I would like to see him come back around Star Wars Celebration because, like we mentioned earlier, always fun to see those guys come back. Yeah. That's it for Sash or Blast It. We know that we have a longer episode this week, so we only had one topic in that segment. We're gonna jump now to staying on target. And this is the last segment of the show, and this is where we talk about all the things, or maybe just the one thing that's, so to say, piquing our interest, something that we're looking ahead to that has us really excited. Let's start with you, Jesse. What do you got?
Obviously, again, it's Battlefront, and E3 is, we've got, basically, it's the closed doors part of the event this weekend. I'm a video game nerd, so I'm just in general excited about potential games that are coming out. I'm also starting to plan some future cosplay, work for my Mandalorian build and everything. So, that's what's on the agenda for me. Somewhere in there, it's catching up on the comics that I seem to be missing out on drastically.
Oh, you got to. It gets expensive, but maybe I'll lend you this first one so you can go buy the second one. Oh, yeah, looks like Curtis around. Did you guys see that? I couldn't plan that. David, for your staying on target, what do you think, man? What are you looking forward to?
Well, I'm just getting into the Clone Wars series, so I'm told that there's another 140 episodes that I need to get through, so I'm sure that'll take most of my time for the next month or two.
You need to go home right now and watch it.
We might actually whip them out here after the cast is done recording.
Exciting. Grab a pizza.
Absolutely. We're going to get pizza and some beverages, and we have a couple videos.
Gotta find her lightsaber.
We got to find her lightsaber. It's somewhere on the floor. I will say this. For the Clone Wars, there's... Oh, she fell. For the Clone Wars series, it's actually... You're supposed to start, I think, watching in season 3 or 4, but we'll just start it... We'll go where you are.
So he tells me to start with the 2008 movie.
I told him this
at the beginning.
Months ago. Oh, boy. Jesse and I will set you straight in just a little bit. That's awesome, though. We'll watch the Clone Wars together. That'd be great. Nick, he's already said gaming, but is that what's got your attention?
It was going to be my attention, but if I want to jump real world for a second, this set next week.
Really?
That's gonna be great.
Can we-
Assuming it doesn't fail horribly,
Yeah.
and next week we have like a cardboard box or something, then yeah.
We're outside on the sidewalk going, okay, woo, let's hope
We'll
for
do the
best.
outside idea and the heat and humidity.
David
and
could get
sweat.
his wish for an outdoor cast.
Well, it might happen that we have a pool in the backyard, so that could be the backdrop to the cast.
Nobody wants to see all of us.
No, we'll stay clothed. Like, we'll
Okay.
totally stay clothed. Yeah, that's the thing.
What's that blinding light? Oh, it's just the paleness of Star Wars nerds.
Yeah, it's just our chest. I'm going to go ahead and just say, yeah, next week,
But E3,
hopefully,
yeah.
this set was going to look a little bit differently. Nick and I are now new roommates. And
Hello.
so we're converting our apartment into the studio. And this is phase 1, and phase 2 will be next week. Really excited. Should be green screen, a little new lighting. So that's going to be nice to take our cast to the next level.
If we're not here next time, both of us aren't here next time, the other one probably killed the other, so R.I.P.
I think it's going to be a great thing.
That'll be fine. I'm not worried.
It's a fast-moving relationship, but like we're okay with the pace. I think for my staying on target, am I speaking for just us? I think there's two things. Staying on target. The first thing is him building this Lego set because Nick is very passionate about this particular set.
I haven't built Legos in years. I'm excited.
I'm going to say I really need to finish Thrawn. I'm halfway through, and I'm interested in seeing how this book ends. I will say this. I really like it, and I like this Thrawn better than what we get in Star Wars Rebels. What we get in Star Wars Rebels is fantastic, and I'm not trying to discredit.
Is this another spoiler?
No, I'm not spoiling. I mean, no. But it is more methodical Thrawn. It is a more strategic Thrawn. In Rebels, we do see Thrawn always... It kind of feels like he always lets the Rebels get away until... We won't spoil that in case you haven't seen it. But this book is really great, and you're seeing how he gets introduced to the Empire and how they rank him up. Like I said, I'm halfway through. I got to get through this book. It is a long read. I will say that. That is my one gripe with this. But I think that it has to be that way with Thrawn. He is so methodical, and he really does think out all the different scenarios. He's that military genius. So I'm staying patient with it. It is taking me a little bit longer than I anticipated. I know a friend of the show, Steve Hyman, he's the guy responsible for a lot of the graphics on our show. He actually just finished Guardians of the Wills. It sounds like we're going to have a special video where he kind of breaks down his thoughts about that book. So be looking for that video on our channel in the near future. And that's really going to wrap it up for this podcast.
4?
This is episode 4.
Episode 4.
Episode 4.
A new hope.
Half a
hopefully new
decade.
set.
Yeah,
Nice.
man, we're hopeful that this was the best episode yet, and I think you might agree that
We're going
it
to keep
has
adding
been.
one person for every episode podcast. We're going to have like 20 people in here. But
That is going to be an intense setup. We're going to have like bleachers. Pass around the microphone.
it'll be 100 degrees in here too with everyone's body heat just giving out.
Nick, David, Jesse, thank you so much for joining us on this cast. And this is the crew. This is the 4 of us. Like we mentioned at the beginning of the show, this is the first time that all 4 of us have been able to be in the same room. And it's really exciting to see where we move forward from here. We talked about the new set. There are, again, a couple of videos that we're going to drop on the channel within the next 48 hours. So if you're watching this either on Saturday or Sunday or Monday or Thursday, whenever you're watching this,
A year from now.
just look. Nick is going to do a special behind-the-scenes video. He's going to build our podcast computer. He's building a special computer for us to edit all of our videos on. So we're going to give you a behind-the-scenes look at that. We have Mando Fury over here on the Twitter and Twitchverse, and you're actually going to be showing us a couple of your different cosplay pieces. So we're really excited about that. That hilt will be discussed, how he did that. Under $15, right?
Yeah, I did this with under $15. In general, at the most, $20 tops.
Yeah.
So
You can't beat that because some guys on YouTube you'll go see they made a custom saber for a couple $100. So he's gonna explain how he did that briefly, and he's got a couple blasters that are just out of this galaxy. Pretty cool stuff.
This is all news to me too, by the way, so I'm learning as I'm going too. So.
Well, everyone is entitled to at least one surprise, right? All right, so that's going to do it for this podcast. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure you find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Comment on everything we post. I mean, we're not trying to be needy, but if you comment, we will respond. Between the 4 of us, one of us will find your comments. And as well as while you're enjoying the last few seconds of this podcast, be sure you find some other videos on our channel and enjoy them right here Beyond the Blast Doors. See you soon. Pew, pew, pew. Pew, pew, pew.
Alright, where the hell did that lightsaber go?